All right, today I'm working on Lauren. Lauren has long, curly hair, very textured. She's got a little bit of chemical damage through the bottom just through years of lightening her hair. Hasn't had a haircut in a long time, so we're gonna give her a pretty big change. So just started off with a middle part right through the front, and then a section that runs from the crown down to the mastoid, and then right through kind of the low crown upper occipital bone, we've just sectioned that off. So 4 panels really, one big one through the back, one that sits in the crown, and then 2 in the front. So we're gonna start with a middle section through the back. Kind of separate off the left from the right, and then we're gonna take a horizontal section that works from the occipital bone to the top of the ear on the left. We're just gonna grab that whole section at once and bring it down, and we're gonna cut a line that is square. Now I'm keeping this a bit longer just to preserve some of the length because I know that her hair is gonna spring up. So I think it's important to have a really good consultation and to kind of see what the hair does when it's wet to know exactly how much it's gonna spring. So when you see this when it's finished, it's gonna look quite a bit shorter than what we just cut there. So just tucking it behind the ear, same thing on the opposite side, bringing everything straight down and just cutting a square line. Keeping everything nice and clean. So now what we're doing is we're taking that left side and doing the opposite. So we took everything straight down. Now we're gonna take everything straight up. And I'm not cutting the line that I already cut. All I'm doing is cutting the layer length through the interior. So I'm not cutting the perimeter line. I'm just going straight up to it and then kind of using that perimeter line as my guide for the layer. What that's gonna do is just release a little bit of weight through the inside of that panel. And that'll be a theme for the underneath of the haircut. So everything's straight up and square to the floor vertically. So above that, we're just bringing everything down to that original guideline. Cutting everything square, just kind of moving around the head a little bit. So now what we've created is a line with a layer on the inside and then a line that sits over the top of it. Doing the same thing on the opposite side, just bringing everything down to that original cutting line. A little bit of a slight over direction backwards behind the ear. Same thing, splitting it straight down the center. Going to eliminate section 1 that we did, and now we're going to lift everything up and do the same thing. Cut that interior line. So I'm using the length that I initially established as my guide and then cutting a layer, so everything that sits above that. Same thing on the opposite side. Removing that first panel and now elevating everything straight up. And just removing some of that interior weight. Going to give you guys a visual here. So I'm just going to take a vertical section through the back. I'm going to pull it straight out from the head. So what you'll see is that little gap between the bottom and the top parts. So if you see right there where my fingertips are, there's a little gap and then the length that sits through the top. So all of that does is it falls down to a line. So now we're just dropping that front panel and connecting it through with the length on the bottom. It looks like I'm elevating a lit there, but what I'm doing is the head's tilted to the left. So I'm just compensating for it, just so I can avoid the shoulder. So just connecting that line through, bringing everything above that down as well, and connecting that line through. So we didn't remove any of the interior weight through the front because there's less hair. So it's not really as necessary. Kind of checking the overall shape. Same thing on the opposite side. Bringing everything down, tilting the head to the right, cutting along the guideline that I have from the back. Just strengthening up that perimeter line through the front. Same thing, bringing everything above that, all the way down to that original guideline. So what we've done is we cut the back, line, layer, line, and then everything through the front is brought down to the same point. So we've got two completely disconnected zones, and now we're left with the hair and the crown. So with that hair, we're bringing it straight down, cutting it, connecting it to the line as well, into the back. And then we're going to go in and do some more layering through the top. Same thing on the opposite side. We just split that crown section in two. Everything on the left was brought down to the line. Everything on the right is brought down to the line as well. So through the back, you have these kind of three interior layers. Just checking the shape. So after it dried, now I'm just going through and picking up the sections and slide cutting out. So I'm just adding the layering through the top here visually. So instead of going through and taking sections, I really just want to pick and choose the spots that I want to kind of have a little bit of different length to them. So not stretching the hair out too much, just picking the hair up a little bit at a time and just sliding down the hair shaft. Not being super aggressive, not taking out a ton. Again, I don't want to change the shape, really just looking to add a bit of kind of texture and disconnection through the layers. So still being very gentle, trying to keep the curls intact, working my way from the front all the way into the back. So opening and closing the scissor as I slide down the hair, not really grabbing the hair with the scissor. That'll cause it to tear and mess up the cuticle. But opening and closing pretty quickly so I can work down the hair shaft and just keep everything as clean as possible. What this is going to do is just help some of that shape to expand a bit through the top. It's just a little bit more of a visual way of working. I like to kind of work very technically in certain aspects and then visual in certain aspects. Last couple sections, I just worked from one side all the way around to the other. Trying to be as consistent as possible. Now we're going to come through and kind of section off the top and just repeat that process in through the underneath. So I'm just using my fingers, kind of section off what I already cut. And now I'll go back through the underneath and just do the same thing. So just adding more texture. So this is where you kind of have some freedom with the technique. You could do it as little as you want or as much as you want. You just have to be aware of the density, the way that they style their hair, Is she ever going to straighten it? You know, for her, she doesn't ever wear it straight. You know, she wears it curly all the time. So this is a bit more, I can be a bit more aggressive because I know that she wants that kind of big curly hair. So just sectioning off the top again, going through. Really where it's dense back here, getting a bit more aggressive. Taking out more through the interior. It's very visual. It's almost like sculpting. So it's about knowing when to do these things. You know, what kind of hair texture you can do it on. You know, hopefully through these videos, you're seeing not really how to do a haircut, but kind of the thought process on how to cut hair in certain situations. So no matter what's thrown at you in the salon, you're kind of equipped with the tools to be able to adjust and make those decisions on your own. A little bit more through the top here. Just kind of anything I see that I want to change, just grabbing it and working my way through the ends. Sectioned off that side again. Really working through the interior now. A little bit more on the top. Really just wanting to expand the shape, kind of give it as much life as possible, make it something that's very unique to her. So I'm not just giving the same haircut to everybody that comes in that has curly hair. It's got a good silhouette. Using the texture spray, lifting the hair, kind of allowing it to get into the curls, really building the shape, allowing it to expand and kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger. I love this look. I think it's gonna be really great for what she does. I also think that day 2 will look even better, and so on and so forth. So just texture spray and a little bit of finishing hairspray around the front, just to kind of get it off the face and keep it held nice and good for the pictures. Here's kind of our finished result. Just a nice, full, kind of wild, curly shape. A lot of texture, a lot of movement, a lot of options for her.